Okay, I want to make this a total one-taker for the one reason that that is the only one that feels right to me. And today I'm going to review the Sony Xperia X Compact, and I kind of think I have to start with one thing. I have to say that I absolutely love this phone, even though I wouldn't have expected that at all, because when I got it, I just thought, okay, I will review it because a lot of people were asking for it. I'm not all that excited about it. I was completely wrong. But I'm not saying that the phone is perfect. There are still the old usual things that I will complain about, and I hope Sony at some point will listen, at least in kind of some way, and maybe fix this. Not that there are really big issues, and for me personally, some of the things that I will complain are no matter at all. But if that is maybe a problem for you or not, or if the things that I find to be great are not something important for you, I guess we will see throughout the review. And just by the way, if you are asking yourself, is this better than the Sony Xperia Z5 Compact? I will answer that at the end of the video, because it's not quite that easy to answer. So I would say let's just switch the cam here and take a look at it. In terms of design, something that I complained about at first was that it feels a lot like a plasticky phone. Absolutely not true, because yes, it does still, but it feels amazingly plastic. Yes, it is glossy and it will attract a lot of fingerprints, and it can at some time get a little bit slimy, but absolutely no issue, because it feels so amazingly round at all points. There's not a single edge that is uncomfortable. At first I thought this kind of 90-degree angle will be uncomfortable. It's absolutely not. It feels amazing, and I said that in my first impressions video. It feels a lot like the Lumia 720 that I found to be one of the most amazing phones with a feel in hand, and this is so close. It feels almost a little bit too lightweight. I would maybe wish for a little bit more of premium heft, but don't get me wrong, it feels incredibly amazing. On the back, we have here the flash and the camera and so on, all the sensors. On the top we have the microphone, headphone jack. Here we have the SIM card tray. I still don't like the fact that if you take it out, it will reboot, because if you want to just switch your SD card, it will reboot. That's not all that great. It would have been nice. It would just point out to me if I want to reboot, but yeah, it's the case. USB Type-C, nice to see that. Fingerprint reader and power button, really nicely placed. I love the position and I love how fast it works, because I pretty much can't press it without unlocking if I tried. It is so fast, and usually on video it's not working all that great, but as you can see, it works out really great if I just press it. I love the position. I think the button is almost a little bit too stiff. I have to press a little bit harder, but therefore you can really by accident touch it. But I love how fast it works. Really, really convenient. What I don't like so much actually is one small gripe is that the animation goes towards the side. It makes sense if you press the button and it slides towards the side, but it just feels a little bit weird compared to usually. The volume rocker, nice tactile feedback, a little bit low in position, but some people like it, some people don't. I got used to it because I don't use it all that much anyways. And here we have, of course, the dedicated camera shot. Of course, we have the front camera here. We have a notification LED. The bezels, as you can already see, aren't the smallest ones. And the phone itself, compared to the Z5 Compact, feels maybe a little bit more bulky, and a few people say it's just bigger and not that premium. I kind of disagree, because it feels better than the Z5. The Z5 Compact for me felt a little bit too edgy. This feels way nicer to me in my hand, but that's personal preference. And of course we have this front-facing stereo speakers. Okay, display. I absolutely like the display. It's a really nice display. Viewing angles are maybe not the most stable ones, but still absolutely fine. I absolutely love the color calibration, because it is slightly saturated. It sounds, or it feels very vibrant and very vivid, but not over the top. Absolutely not. I really like that fact, and the colors seem still natural enough. Absolutely no problem, but they are definitely a little bit over the top if you want a super accurate picture, which I don't complain at all. I absolutely love this. Maximum brightness was absolutely fine. Dimmest brightness was absolutely fine. There is some IPS glow, as you will see here, but actually they manage, and you can properly see this actually. But this is actually one of the better ones for Sony and even in general. So they definitely improved on that. So overall, I absolutely like this display a lot. I really, really like it. It's just 720p, maybe not the sharpest one, but believe me, with 4.6 inches, at no point in time I ever felt like it's not sharp, because it is a really, really nice, sharp 720p display. So let's check the sound. Okay, let me one thing make clear, and that sounded wrong, but it's not a problem. I still will complain about the one fact that I don't think it is loud enough. It is acceptable at this point in time. But for example, the Z5 Compact, at least definitely in my opinion, was noticeably louder and richer. The sound quality is absolutely fine, and everyone says Sony emphasizes on the quality of the speaker, not so much on the volume, and I'm okay with that. The quality is absolutely fine, no problem. It is a really good sounding speaker, but personally, what's it worth having the best sounding speaker if you just don't hear it in loud environments? Because at my workplace I had a quite hard time, and that's why I just want it to be louder. You can make a great quality speaker and make it louder. It is possible. So Sony, please make that. It's not a huge issue. For me, it is still a little bit of a deal breaker, but for most people it won't, but it is still fine. When we talk about a headphone jack, that one as well, I want it a little bit louder. I get it totally. The quality with a really nice pair of headphones is really, really good, and you have some extra options where you can tweak a little bit some things and some optimizing. Nice, top. I want it a little bit louder though. That's maybe just personal, but I just had to point that out. Not a huge complaint, but it's still something that I'm missing on Sony phones. Okay, about the quality, let's start a few apps and see how quick they launch. And I have to tell you just one thing, it is a super snappy device. Apps launch incredibly fast, beats even in many aspects here the S7. Super quick, very responsive of a phone. 3 GB of RAM, the multitasking as you can see here works just fine. I had no problems at all times. I could launch many apps. In normal use, absolutely top. I absolutely love that, and especially the scrolling in the browser, so incredibly smooth. I absolutely love what they did with the scrolling, because I know in my first impressions video I said it doesn't feel kind of like a 60 frames per second smoothness, and it kind of doesn't, but it's so incredibly consistent smooth and such a nice movement with pretty much no lag at all. This is one of the most lag-free devices I've ever seen, and this rivals something like the LG G5. I would say this is amongst the very, very best. I would say even top 3 in terms of daily use performance, because everything is snappy, everything is responsive. I can switch through my apps very quickly. Everything is made just so well, so nice and smooth, and I absolutely can't express this in words how amazing I think the performance is. It was so satisfying, so amazing. Can't really say anything else. The Snapdragon 650 is an amazing performer, and whatever Sony did here, absolutely amazing. Of course, the 720p display will help. One thing that I have to say though is the gaming performance is not all that great. For some reason, it felt weaker than I had it in mind on the Sony Xperia X, which has the same SoC. It just isn't super smooth at all times. It has quite some slowdowns, and there are some small occasions where you can see that it could push higher frame rates. And even though it's just a 720p display, I didn't get quite the performance that I expected to. Don't get me wrong. Gaming performance is solid, it is good enough, but it left me a little bit wanting for more, if that's a problem. But personally, I don't see this as a gaming device anyway, since it is just a 720p 4.6-inch display, and you won't get the greatest experience after all, since it is a small display. But I also have to say one thing, I have a colleague at work that has an iPhone 4S with a tiny 3.5-inch display, and he plays games all the time, so that's just something to keep in mind. Now about the battery life. Charging time first. I needed for some reason 2 hours and 20, which is odd since it supports Quick Charge 3.0. So maybe my charger just didn't work out of the box. And since I have a review on it, I just got a standard 1.5 amp charger, and I didn't use that because it was way too slow. So if you maybe have a proper 3.5 charger, or maybe if you get the quick charger in the box, that I heard it should be the case on the Xperia X, you should charge faster. I would expect something like around 1.5 hours. For some reason it was 2 hours and 20 for me, but therefore the battery life is killer, and that's the main reason why I personally prefer it over the Z5 Compact. I got in mixed use or even on mobile data 6 hours of screen on time with this phone, with a brightness of 40%, with my typical usage. On Wi-Fi, I would have gotten even more, but even over the course of 2 days with mixed use and everything else, 5 hours, no problem at all. This is one amongst the very few, the best battery life ever. I've used one phone recently, the LG X Power, of course, which has a huge ass 4100 mAh battery. That is even better. But of all the small phones, this is by far the best ones and beats a lot of flagships. So I love the battery life. Absolutely great. If we take a look at the software, there's not all that much to say here because it looks very like stock. As you can see here, you have the toggles. You can rearrange that. You can add some more. All that is fine. We have here the stock launcher, and it's not an amazing one. So I would still replace it with something like Nova Launcher, but it gets the job done. It's a normal one, doesn't really add any features, so that is fine. Of course, here maybe it doesn't look exactly like stock, but behaves pretty much exactly like stock because the options are absolutely in the same place, just a little bit themed, and I said that all the times. We have still nice additions like, for example, image enhancement on this side. We have a white balance control, and we have double tap to wake, which is definitely nice to have. Of course, you have some extra things, and in the sound department we have some audio settings, and I did check that, clear audio plus and all that. I still think it maybe improves the sound, but still, like I said, the volume. But other than that, it's very, very much like stock, and there's not much else to talk about in that aspect because it delivers. It fully delivers, and Sony is known to deliver a quite good software update support. And I'm done with the software, really like it. So I would say let's just start off with the camera, if I don't get that wrong, and I completely ditched that. So just give me a second. I completely bonkered that. Okay, I hope that is okay, but I won't really cut it out, so it is what it is. Okay, let's take a look at the pictures. Selfies, I think, look absolutely great. Really, really good, especially in good lighting situations. It looks really nice because it's very sharp, looks absolutely fine, puts a lot of details into it, as you can see here on my forehead. Great amount of details. Nice color exposure, of course, with some harsher light. It gets a little bit harder, but still, I absolutely love that one outside. But if you go inside, it definitely gets a lot softer, doesn't pick up too many details anymore, and here it definitely is noticeable weaker. So I'm not all that happy with the low light experience. Same as for here. Here it's actually still fine because it was quite dark, and it actually is quite sharp. Okay, image processing still a little bit on the slow side. I think I would say, let me say that like this. Indoors and artificial light, not all that great light. It is okay. It's not amazing, but once we go outside, I'm still also not impressed. I just expected a little bit more. It's not all that sharp, sometimes actually though over sharpening. And as you can see here, this is one of my main gripes. If you go too close, you just can't get it to focus. Manually or automatically, it just doesn't work. If you get far like this, it gets, but get a little bit closer and you just won't get the sharpness. Here it works fine. So not all that great for macro shots for some reason. If you have a little bit of a larger object, it gets it done. But here once again, it just doesn't sometimes get it. And overall the picture quality is a little bit of a hit and miss. Sometimes like here for example, here not so much. And here once again it looks quite good. And here as well. But it's more, I would say, suited for landscape. Here it just delivers better. Overall, I still think it's not the very best camera. And I know a lot of people will complain that I can't use it. And that is actually one of my gripes because you have to have some skills. You need a little bit for that to get great pictures. Of course, here as you can see, it clips the colors a little bit. But everything else just didn't completely impress me as I would wish for it to be. And if we check the video quality, here though I'm super impressed, or let's say super pleased, because it looks really, really good. It's nice and sharp. The autofocus works pretty much instantly and you don't really even usually notice that it is on or that it is working, but it just is because it's pretty much always in focus, and I definitely like that fact that it's very sharp, it's clean, it's smooth. If you consider about the overheating, it was fine. I've used it for like 20 minutes today and then it showed me that it will reduce some features, like for example the face detection and so on, but at no point in time it did actually shut down. So even after a little bit more than half an hour, it was stuttering on the viewfinder, the video, but the video itself stayed intact and it was really nice in my opinion. And the camera though is great. So it still tends to kind of lose features when it comes to the heat, but at least it didn't completely tank out, and that is after all the main important part. So it didn't fail in that regard. So I would say let's get to the pros and cons. And as always, I tend to rather point out a few more negative things than maybe not pointing them out, just so they are there, so you are aware of them. Doesn't mean all of them are important, because there are a few ones that you have to decide on your own. Let me quickly just stop the video here because it's distracting. So that's what I think. But let me get to the end here. My final conclusion. What is my take on this phone? I absolutely love it. The two, or let's say the gripes that I have is it could be louder. That's still the one thing that I want to improve. And the camera performance for pictures isn't as easy as I would want it. I would just have to like to point out and then have a great picture. I just don't get that all the time. So that's a little bit of disappointment. But the rest, I love the in and feel. As I said, absolutely one of the best feeling phones. It's also very compact, of course. Therefore, the one in use is amazing. The display, absolutely satisfying at all points. Sound quality, as I said, is good. Performance is one of my highlights because it's one of the nicest, overall, smoothest and best performing phones that I've used so far, and it is not just close to a flagship. I definitely call this a flagship in terms of normal day performance, and in my opinion definitely beats the Z5, even though it has the higher end SoC with the Snapdragon 810. This one performs better in normal use. In games though, of course the Z5 Compact wins because there it had the upper hand, but still, normal day-to-day use, if gaming is not important, absolutely amazing. Software is top, the battery life is absolutely killer, and the camera, for video at least, is really, really good. So, to get to the question that a few people had, is it better than a Z5 Compact? In terms of display, pretty much the same. In terms of sound, pretty much the same. In terms of performance, for daily use, as I said, a little bit better. In-hand feel is the main important thing where I think it improved because it feels so much rounder, so much nicer. Yes, it's plastic and it will scratch a little bit. I have some scratches, some really fine ones, but therefore it just feels so much better. The Z5, even though the Compact felt better than the normal Z5, never really felt all that great to me. This one maybe doesn't feel all that premium because it doesn't use metal or something like that, but it just feels nicer, more comfortable in the hand. That's why I prefer it. And the camera is very, very similar. I think actually the Z5 Compact was a tad little better, but not enough to make the deciding factor. And we have the big benefit of the better battery. So that's why I call it the better phone, even though it may not be the proper compact flagship. For me it is. And that's all I have to say. For the price, I actually wouldn't even say it's overpriced, because a lot of people say around 430 euros here right now. I think the official pricing is in the US 500. And it sounds a lot, but why I wouldn't call it overpriced is the fact that you get a lot for what you pay for, and I don't think it's too much. Of course, you pay quite a lot. It's quite some extra tax because you get a great quality product, and you just don't have a lot of options here in the compact business. So if the pricing between the Z5 Compact and this one isn't all that big, I would go for this one if it is, because the Z5 Compact by now should be cheaper. It is definitely still a top choice, but personally, I would go for this without any thinking, because personally, it's personal preference, and I prefer this mostly because of the in-hand feel and the better battery life. And the performance for my use was just better. That's what it is. It was a long review. That was kind of planned or not, I don't know, but it was a little bit shaky, but I wanted to pull it through, because only if I make the one take with a few more mistakes but get through what I've ever wanted to, I think that's the one where I can give you the best possible information, not filtering out anything. So it is what it is. I hope you liked it. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and we see us next time. Okay, until next time, bye.